The Gambia's quest to create avenues for youth employment enters a significant phase as the Barrow government leans towards shared bilateral labor partnerships to attract opportunities for the country's skilled workforce in the global job market. Bilateral labor deals play a vital role in addressing unemployment gaps, enabling governments to bolster economic growth and leverage mutually beneficial cooperation between nations. Bent on transforming the economy through a highly skilled population, investing in youth enterprise and innovative capacity, the Gambia government is prioritizing policies harnessing skills development across multiple spectrums to prepare the workforce for industrial ventures in a new digital era anchored on creativity and innovation.
We've signed 3 of them now. 3 of them have been approved by the cabinet and 2 have been ratified by the National Assembly. We are hoping that the 3rd one, which is the Spain one, should be in the National Assembly soon.
Currently we have launching 4 private recruitment agencies that will be responsible for the recruitment of Gambians who are interested to work in Saudi. We also receive a 2-man delegation from Saudi, and we have had a very fruitful discussions with them. They have a system, they call it Masood. It's like a digital recruitment system that all the details of those who will be recruited will be fed in that system, and it's live.
For skilled job seekers, this venture facilitates access to gainful employment in more job-intensive and innovative-driven markets, delivering alternatives to irregular migration through skills exchange.
Decentralization, we've seen the advantage of doing it so that youths can stay in their communities and work. And with that, it can also curb the illegal migration. And skills training, we know that when young people have it, they can stay wherever they are, as far as it's hands-on, to be able to work for themselves. So if government is also playing their quota in that would be really great, because we needed more skills training in the rural so that we can get a lot of young people to be part of it.
We are also working on the public employment services. These are going to be programs that we'll be working with development partners to mobilize resources to be able to come up with programs that will support people both in skill development, entrepreneurship, and also certain economic activities that they will be recruited to be undertaken.
Labor treaties centered on knowledge and skills transfer have seen monumental advances around the world, with more diverse economies sourcing ideas, innovation, and human capital from multiple backgrounds to amplify growth. The Gambia government has signed several labor agreements with Spain and Middle Eastern nations, including Saudi Arabia, to enable pathways for more employment for the country's skilled workforce and youth seeking viable opportunities away from home.
The way we want to approach this is to work closely with the Ministry of Higher Education. They are responsible for skills development. And we know very well that this country has a lot of skill centers now. But we must work to achieve 2 things at the same time. You want to provide adequate skills for the domestic labor market so that we do not run out of skills. We want to still have nurses, we want to have teachers, we want to have drivers, we want to have builders in the country. But because we cannot stop people from traveling with those skills, we should be replenishing as they are leaving, as they are departing. We should be replacing them. One of the reasons why that local committee, which is helping the minister with ideas, will include the USET. Used to be GTTI, now it's USET. It's a member of the committee, and that is to link skills development to the scheme, so that as we are losing them to other countries, we are also providing training to replenish them in the system.
There are a lot of schemes that are already in place. We have the Quebec scheme. We've seen a lot of also diversification at the university to produce skills, and also we have seen also the private sector also taking the lead the like of the cruise ship, also building skills and also supporting young people to migrate legally. We also see the development partners also complementing the efforts of government to ensure that young people get the right skills to be competitive in the global and also national market.
We are not looking at high-skilled people. We also want to see people stay in the country to take up jobs. But those who we are targeting in this case are low skill or virtually no skill. And then where there is no skill, we train you for the purpose of the contract they are going to be engaged in. So in essence, we are looking at low or zero skill, and then this is why in fact there is a training component in the contract.
It's another step in the ongoing crusade to create over 100,000 jobs for young people who are also being incentivized with new breakthroughs, easing access to technical vocational education training and digital expertise needed in emerging markets.
Young people do not have the opportunities or do not know where to get these opportunities, but if they do, they'll be able to learn. We had a partnership with IOM, wherein we train returnees. When they come, we sensitize them, talk to them on the importance of skills. And through that we have students, we presently have some students learning the skills, and they're very responsive to it. Within the project we also had with the Ministry of Trade, we've signed an MOU recently to train 25 young people across the country. And doing that we have also identified 30% of our trainees are returnees. And they're very good with attendance and they focus on doing it. Because they know that when they have the skills, even whenever they go anywhere, they can be able to use those skills with the certificate that they have.
The venture to promote gainful employment has spurred Trade Ministry officials to action as they extend a fresh outreach campaign to sensitize youth groups on labor agreements and increase awareness of accessible opportunities facilitated via bilateral partnerships for job creation.
These bilaterals with other countries for our youths to be employed will help us to curb the menace of illegal migration that we are faced with as a country. Because we all know migration is part of life, but it has to be regulated.
We all know unemployment is a problem in this country. To deal with the issue of high unemployment in the country, the Ministry of Trade was tasked to come up with a policy that will look at the issues and come up with measures to address those issues.
Meeting young people across provincial Gambia, these interfaces enable authorities to draw youth views on specific employment needs and share insights on labor treaties and protocols required to engage with global job markets.
I would want to ask, how transparent would the recruiting committee be? Because if we should send this information back to our people in our districts, in the rural area here, and recruitment time comes, and 60% or 70% is being given to the urban area. One, how are we going to see this?
You are working with the government in any department. Are you liable for this contract to travel if you are employed? The second question is, can you travel twice? For example, after signing the agreement with Saudi Arabia and sign the contract with Spain too, can you travel to Saudi Arabia this year? Next contract also you travel to the other country.
The contract document, particularly where the implementation now is with the Gambia government and also the Kingdom of Saudi, and then they have shared a contract document that we have reviewed at a technical committee level. It's 11-pager, so that shows the detail of the contract document. And one of the exciting things in the contract document is, one, there is a negotiation for pay. Two, there is a number of benefits like transportation of the recruited person in the Gambia here. When I say transportation, that is your flight ticket to Saudi Arabia, back and forth. And then there is also the documentation, all the costs related to documentation. That includes your passport, that includes your medical examination certificate, that also includes your training that also include your police clearance. All those costs are things that are going to be taken up by the employer.
Within the agreements, we have set up two very important committees. One is the local committee that will be advising the minister on the implementation and also monitor the implementation, collect feedback from participants, and bring to the table for discussions. The second committee is intergovernmental. The two governments came together and agreed a particular committee that is now going to be responsible for driving the game. And by that I mean that committee will be the one reviewing the agreements where necessary, amending it where necessary, changing the rules of the game where necessary, but also applying sanctions on agencies and organizations that violate the provisions of the agreement.
Where there is a problem, of course, the government through the embassy will engage the Saudi government on a bilateral arrangement, and then once they discuss, unless they are not able to reach a consensus, otherwise they will escalate it to the courts.
This nationwide outreach is a unique initiative to promote labor diversity and a viable skilled sector. It's a task highly prioritized by trade officials as they tour the country to sensitize youth groups on labor agreements signed between the Gambia government and bilateral partners such as Spain, Saudi Arabia, and some Near Eastern countries to provide job opportunities for young people.
We want to vet people properly, ensure that we are sending people that are healthy, who are fit, who are strong, who are willing and capable to go out there and work for themselves. And also, within this next level, we are working very closely with our partners to set up the rules, the procedures and so on, review the laws, sensitize those who are going to participate. That's basically what's going to underpin the pre-departure training program, for them to understand the cultures of the countries they are intending to go and work, the religious requirements.
The Gambia is going to be represented by the embassy in Saudi Arabia. And then in fact, we also have planned to engage in a trip to Saudi Arabia. That is the ministry with some other relevant stakeholders to see the conditions of these people. But we trusted the structures that we have put in place. One of the structures is a platform where we register all these domestic workers, and then we will also input all the important information about individuals that we have recruited for this purpose. And then this platform is something that is accessible to the Gambia government, is also accessible to the Saudi government, but equally accessible to the embassy of the Gambia in Saudi Arabia.
These steps join a raft of policy schemes being implemented by the Gambia government to nurture a labor-friendly environment through the Ministry of Trade, which is expanding strategic frameworks and reforms to accelerate economic growth.
All the countries we are signing bilateral agreements with are friends of the Gambia, and we should be able to work together with them to support the skills development component of MOHAST. And I think that's one area I'm looking forward to in the immediate future, to ensure that we have equipped these skill centers.
There is the opportunity of remittances, because already the Gambia has made its own mark in the remittance market. And we hope once we also try this bilateral labor agreement, we'll see that figure rising up.
Government of the Gambia recognize the potential and the opportunities of migration. Diaspora community all over the world are doing wonders to support the Gambia, and through their intervention, we are proud to say that we are meeting our SDG and NDB target. Although we have seen a lot of opportunities on the diaspora community and migrants supporting home, we also have registered a lot of challenge, especially with the irregular migration. And this government is managing it through the National Coordinating Mechanism, which take the whole of government and whole of society approach. And we have 8 thematic working groups. And all these thematic working groups work towards achieving migration management and governance.
For the project, I talked to them about giving them seed capital after the training, which is in the pipeline, and hopefully the Ministry of Trade will look into that, because we cannot just train them and you leave them to go back. For us, our slogan is to get youths off the streets. When we get them off the streets, it means we bring them in-house, give them trainings, quality training that they can have on hand, and then go out there and do something for themselves, be entrepreneurs. But if they finish and still do not have the seed capital to get the equipment needed to continue the work that they've learned, that will be a challenge. So we're discussing with the ministry on that, and I'm very hopeful that it will turn into that.
Coming at a period of significant commitment to sustain growth, these policy reforms are expected to mitigate the current irregular migration crisis and discourage youths from journeying to Europe on perilous high seas, claiming hundreds of lives every year.
The challenge of irregular migration, the Gambia has lost lives, and some of the participants, those who have participated in this back way, some had injuries, some had some psychological issues, and then even there are few who managed to pass their way to the destinations. Some in that level were not able to secure documents, and then the few of them who have been documented, they are doing well, but that doesn't justify the irregular pathway. So that is one. Then 2, the promise of the employment policy to target 150,000 jobs, which means 30,000 jobs per year. And once we are able to do a bilateral labor agreement with countries beyond those that we have just signed with, then we can see a significant number of young Gambians who are also going to partake in this bilateral labor agreement.
Migration is as old as human race. You cannot stop people from migrating. But what is important is let us do it legally. Let us find a good route of migration where it is properly been channeled, and then you find yourself in a better working condition.
Our long-term goal is to bring up opportunities to migrants, and also to make sure that migration is a choice rather than a need for the Gambian population. We want to leverage on labor migration scheme. We want to leverage on building the right youth population that we have the opportunity home also to contribute to national development.
If they have skills, they will not think about crimes, they will not think about drugs, they will not think about anything that is not legal, but they'll always think about how to innovate, how to create, how to add value. So if we have an opportunity to expand our wings to wherever we can be, we have a democratic society with skills that are matched for the market. The labor market will be okay for them, so they'll be able to work. So this is what we really wanted to do.
Bilateral labor agreements will play a crucial role in promoting effective skills transfer and greater access to jobs as the government invests more resources in crafting viable alternatives for legal migration. The quest to discourage irregular migration and the risky sea venture is a Herculean venture fraught with challenges, but a viable economy is itself a major incentive needed to retain youths amid efforts to curb irregular migration. At the Ministry of Trade, Employment, Regional Integration and Industry, officials now have a massive task to engage and raise youth awareness on labor deals offering job opportunities. But further galvanizing the country's skilled sector at the home front will require even more strategic investment and policies focused on preparing youths for international job markets. Youth leaders participating in the sensitization are keenly learning procedures to access jobs through bilateral labor deals signed by the Gambia government, which could achieve significant knowledge transfer from its move to engage the country's human capital in new diversified economies. Others who shared their views on the development described it as a gainful venture necessary to curb existing challenges in the job market, while some called for the establishment of decentralized skill centers to bridge the unemployment gap.
During the launch of that policy, the president talked about the policy target, which is the creation of 150,000 jobs in the country. And to do that, there are skill components to improve the skills of people, but the government also think about going into bilateral manpower agreement with countries that need labor.
As a ministry now have an agenda to create 150,000 jobs. Training 25 is giving them 100 already. So because if you empower one, I believe that one can empower 5, 6, up to 10 on the way. So doing one, supporting one young people will support a lot more on the way. So if they have to create more jobs, more trainings for them, and like I said, skills training is the solution for the young people. If they have skills, they can be marketable wherever they are.
The Gambia government ultimately hopes to recruit scores of skilled domestic workers for the scheme, which enables young Gambians to seek viable opportunities away from home. The quest for jobs and socio-economic opportunities, especially among youths, is driving many towards irregular migration. According to the International Organization for Migration, IOM, over 35,000 Gambians arrived in Europe by irregular means between 2014 and 2018, amid a continued loss of life in the Mediterranean, where small, overcrowded boats are risking all to cross the dangerous sea.
It is for the good of our country, it is also for the good of our young people, because it will enable them to get jobs. It will also complement government effort in trying to tackle the menace of irregular migration, what is locally known as backway, because these bilateral agreements will help create legal pathways for those people, instead of going through the back way, to go through legal ways to those countries, work for 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, and then come back, and then without going through the perils of going through those dangerous journeys, wherein we lost a lot of our young people.
Signed bilateral treaties include the labor agreement initiated during the Saudi African Economic Conference in November last year, which was attended by the Minister of Trade, who is leading efforts to transform the job market and increase youth employability. Under the agreement, the Saudi government established a framework for cooperation to regulate the recruitment of professional skilled workers, as the kingdom moves to attract over 12 million people.
Are not victims of any abuse of whatever sort. And like I said, that committee has the responsibility also to ensure that international rules and laws that the two countries have signed under the International Labour Organization are adhered to, are respected. So all this, I believe these two committees will be providing support as a structure or as structures to ensure the implementation goes on without problems.
The government signed this bilateral labour agreement with 4 countries: Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Spain. I'm sure most of you here are aware of that, particularly the Saudi one. And then out of these 4 countries, 3 of them happen to be countries in the Gulf region. And over the years, stories coming from those who have gone to those countries to seek for employment through private recruitment agencies, some of the stories are not very pleasant. They are nothing to write home about.
We are encouraging young people to come forward and take advantage of some of these programs that we are just initiating. One, as I mentioned, the bilateral labor agreement, there will soon be opportunities for them to be recruited to work.
Spanish President Pedro Sanchez also made a historic visit to the Gambia to engage with authorities on a walking tour that witnessed the signing of an important bilateral labor agreement between Banjul and Madrid. Unemployment among young people in the Gambia remains a significant challenge the government aims to tackle in order to augment growth.
We have been working with young people in terms of skill development. We've done that, and also we have been supporting enterprises owned by youth, We've done that for the past 10 years, and we are also going to scale up that so that we can support youth enterprises, both the startup and the existing ones.
A labor survey conducted in 2018 notes an increasing unemployment rate with a staggering 41.5% of the population between 15 and 35 years unemployed.